Welcome to Codex, a history of video games. I'm Mike Coletta.
And I am Tyler Osby.
And today we're getting into Metal Gear Solid 4. That's the fourth one in the Gears series, not the non-Gears. In the Solid series.
Not the Solid series, yeah.
Oh, man.
I was like, oh, man. We're getting all our series. We've been playing a lot of Gears of War lately, so it's like, oh, we're getting all of our series mixed up.
You never played that Metal Solid? That game Metal Solid?
Yeah. Metal Solid Gear?
No Gear.
Metal Gear. A whole series of Metal Solid Gear. Metal Solid.
I'm excited to get into it.
Yeah, this game is awesome. So our Metal Gear series has finally reached its final conclusion. We covered the original MSX games all the way through the PlayStation games, the PlayStation 2 games. We took a little detour, talked about the Portal games and some of the higher profile spin-offs there. And now we're at the series' logical conclusion, Metal Gear Solid 4. Yes, there is a Metal Gear Solid 5, and it is a great game, but it's not really old enough for us to take a look back on it just yet. If you're a Metal Gear Solid fan, especially if you're a Big Boss fan, I think Metal Gear Solid 5 is awesome, really great entry to the series, and I think it has some of the best gameplay that the series has to offer. So I'm not hating on Metal Gear Solid 5. It's just, I guess it's 5 years old now, which is, I mean, it's not old, but it's like
it's
older
the
than I
most
thought it
recent
was. Now that I think
one.
about it. It's half a decade.
Yeah,
but
maybe it qualifies. Yeah. Maybe we'll do it later down the line, though. You know.
Yeah. We'll get to it someday, I'm sure. But for now, this is where I'm gonna at least lay our Metal Gear Solid series to rest, and we can pick it up later down the road if we decide to. So let's talk about Metal Gear Solid 4. So here's a quick overview. It was released in June 2008, the summer that I graduated high school. It's the last entry in the series chronologically. Sure, there's Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance that sort of takes place afterwards. That's like a Raiden, his own solo adventure that happens later. But as far as Snake stories go, this is where all of the Snakes come together. They all intertwine. And this is where all of those stories end. So it felt fitting to be playing this game at that point in my life because I felt at that time, remember I was graduating high school in 2008, I felt at that time it was like the ending of something. Like my life as I knew it was basically over and I was now an old man, an old snake, if you will.
Old snake man.
So we'll get to Old Snake in a minute. Anyway, but there's probably some people thinking, gee, Tyler, that's a really morbid way to think about your last summer out of high school. And you're right, it was. Luckily, people live to be much longer than 18 years old if all goes well. And I can confirm that life indeed continues after high school, and dare I say, gets even better.
I would argue it gets even better past like college. People are like, college is the best years of life. I'm like, no, really, it's like better and better as you go along because you realize stuff, what you enjoy, you know?
Yeah. But I talk about this because as much as I love Metal Gear Solid 2 and 3, and I've expounded upon that on this podcast many times, I think I played Metal Gear Solid 4 at the perfect time in my life for it to really make an impact. You know, I think we all have those pieces of media that we consume at like just the right time in our lives for them to really have a meaningful impact. You know what I mean? Like for me, I can point to like Pink Floyd, The Wall. I listened to that album for the first time when I was probably 13 or 14, and it was just like, that was the right time for me to listen to that album. Watchmen, it was similar. I was like 14 or 15 probably when I first read Watchmen. So those are some of the things that just they have an impact on you. Do you have any like pieces of media that really had an impact on you?
Oh boy,
in that way,
Fallout 3. Right when that came out, I was like a sophomore in college, and I kind of had like gotten away from video games before that time. Like between like probably sophomore year of high school and freshman year of college, I rarely played video games anymore. And that really just got me right back into it again. I bought a 360 nice. And I was playing Fallout 3 and I made sure to get all the bobbleheads. I think that's a big time in my life. Also, like, I mean, my quintessential childhood memories mostly revolve around like video games. Like the day I got Tony Hawk Pro Skater and Super Smash Brothers in one day, which I think I talked about on here, and then Mario Golf for Game Boy Color and how good that is, or just Game Boy Color Pokemon Red in general was just an amazing time. So yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So Metal Gear Solid 4 is one of those games for me. I just played it at just the right time, and it really had an impact on me. So that's where I'm coming from when I say that it's one of my favorite games of all time. It just grabbed me at the right time. So development of Metal Gear Solid 4 started in 2005, shortly after the release of Metal Gear Solid 3. So Kojima had said that Metal Gear Solid 3 was going to be his last MGS game, but Sony didn't really want to let that money printing machine go just yet, and Konami as well. So they got to work on a sequel. It was announced shortly before E3 in 2005, and they said at the time, they had introduced it with the director of Alan Smithy, which is like a sort of tongue-in-cheek reference to a pseudonym that film directors will use when they want nothing to do with the project they worked on. So like if you're in the movie industry, or at least I think they stopped using it like 20 years ago, but if you're in the movie industry and you directed a movie, and by the time you got to the end of that movie, if like the studio had done a bunch of stuff that you didn't want or anything like that, and like this movie ended up not being the vision that you had, you could like apply to the Directors Guild of America and say, hey, I didn't have enough creative control on this movie. I don't want my name to be a part of it. And they would then put Alan Smithy as the director. So
really, that's like a movie history thing. That's interesting.
Yeah. I looked up, so I was like, Alan Smithy. I wonder what the significance of that is, and that's what it is, I guess.
Oh, now I want to find a list of like movies that have famous directors that Alan Smithied their movies.
Oh, that's a good idea. Should have looked up.
No, we can do that later. I mean, people can do that on their own personal time. We don't need to provide them with everything. We just gave you a rabbit hole to go down during this social distancing time. Enjoy it.
That's true. So anyway, that was in 2005, and when the director was listed as not Kojima, people got really, really mad, and they sent death threats to him and the people at Konami and Sony. And so what's the best way to deal with angry fans calling in death threats? You should just appease them, of course. So while that conference in 2005 had Alan Smithy listed as the director, when they brought the game out at E3 in 2005, it was definitely confirmed that Kojima would be writing, producing, and directing the game. So they showed some footage off there of what Metal Gear Solid 4 might look like running on the Metal Gear Solid 3 engine. It was like, there's not a whole lot going on there, but because it was still like early days of development, so they didn't really have much to show. But they did have a lot more to show at the Tokyo Game Show in 2005, where they revealed the full title, Metal Gear Solid 4, Guns of the Patriots.
That's such a cool, like, subtitle. That's amazing.
I know.
Guns of the Patriots.
Guns of the Patriots. And it means a lot more if you've played Metal Gear Solid 2 and you know who the Patriots are, then it means a lot more, and it's super, super great. I love it. So at Tokyo Game Show in 2005, they showed Metal Gear Solid 4 running on a game engine that was meant for the PS3, and everyone oohed and awed at all the neat graphics. So this was still before the PlayStation 3 was released, so the public was like really easily impressed by footage shown of the system because it wasn't out yet. So it was like, oh man, cool, PS3. So it was like a double whammy.
Whoa.
Yeah, you were getting a Metal Gear Solid 4 sneak peek, but more than that, you were getting a PlayStation 3 sneak peek. So that was like kind of neat at the time.
So into it.
Yeah. So in that footage at Tokyo Game Show, we got our first glimpse of Solid Snake with a total dad mustache. If you look at old Snake, he's got a dad mustache. And I can say that because, and this is true, Solid Snake in Metal Gear Solid 4 looks exactly like my dad.
So does that mean you're the son of Solid Snake and you haven't told us this whole time?
Some people might say that. I wouldn't say that, of course.
Hanging out in LA, like you'd be sneaking up on me all the time. I'd be like, "Whoa, where'd you come from?" I have no idea.
Yeah,
you know,
you get like an exclamation mark above your head.
Yeah, and I'd be like, "Huh," and then I'd have to like make a video call to confirm I was in the right place.
Must have been the wind. Oh no, that's
hide in a cardboard
Skyrim.
box.
So yeah, I'll show you a picture of that after we're all done, and then you can confirm, Mike.
And I'll update you on the last episode. I'll be like, can confirm that Tyler's dad is Solid Snake from Metal Gear 4.
Yeah. So in this footage, Snake also looked much older than he had in previous games. And there's 5 years time passed between Metal Gear Solid 2 and Metal Gear Solid 4 in the game. But he looks a lot older than 5 years older than Metal Gear Solid 2. And there are reasons for that, and we'll talk about that when we get to the story of Metal Gear Solid 4. There's a reason he's kind of an old man looking dude. So
I'm excited to get some weird anime baloney. I love it.
Oh, yeah. That's rooted in some kind of sort of enough science for you to go, oh, yeah, okay, I guess I buy it. You know, it's like there's just enough there where you're like, that sounds wrong, but I don't know enough to dispute it, so I guess I'll go with it.
I'm going to start announcing myself as anime pseudoscientist and see what people think.
Anime pseudoscientist Mike Coletta.
That's right.
So over the next few years, Konami would drip feed the public with various details about the game. Some story bits here, some gameplay systems bits there, and then they would even reveal the cast of characters that made up the Beauty and the Beast Corps, which is the name of the group that makes up many of the boss characters in Metal Gear Solid 4.
They're
talk about them in a minute as well.
Beauty and the Beast Corps?
Yeah.
Oh,
they're
my
so
goodness.
cool.
I'm so excited.
Yeah. So on June 12th, 2008, Metal Gear Solid 4 was unleashed to the world. just in time for me to graduate high school and spend all my free time getting Snake to the end of his story. But before we talk about the story, because we're gonna go a little ham on that, I want to talk about some of the gameplay stuff they did because they significantly changed things up this time around. So Metal Gear Solid 4 feels a lot more like a third-person shooter than it does a stealth game, and this is a good thing. They were iterating on the alternate camera mode from Metal Gear Solid 3, you know, where like original Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater was sort of top down, so the camera was like way up above, and it was technically 3D, but it was like not a great way to control it. And then in Subsistence, they moved the camera behind Snake and they made it a little bit more third person, and it was a much, much better system for doing that. So they did that again in Metal Gear Solid 4, but they improved upon it. So in 2008, we're looking at a post Gears of War and Uncharted world. So if you're making a third person shooter, you got to have great controls. And I think Metal Gear Solid 4 nailed it. They learned a lot of lessons from games like Gears of War and Uncharted. And they kept some of the iconic features of older Metal Gear Solid games, and they updated them to fit with modern times, or at least what modern times were in 2008, 12 years ago. It's still a stealth game, and that's still generally the best way to win, but the guns blazing tactic works much better in Metal Gear Solid 4, mostly because the controls while shooting are so much better in Metal Gear Solid 4. In older Metal Gear games, the best way to get through them was to stealth through them, because if you ended up actually having to fight soldiers, the controls were terrible. And so you would just die because the controls are bad. So that sort of encouraged people to sneak, because then they wouldn't have to deal with these awful controls.
You could totally see that in my first playthrough experience of Metal Gear Solid 2.
Yeah, it's definitely a much easier game to sneak.
Why can't I fight this guy? I can't. And my guy's just air whiffing, you know?
Yeah.
Slappers only.
Slappers only, he does the like 1-2 and then he does the spin kick, and it's like doesn't hit anything ever, and then you're just taking bullets the whole time.
It just looks like I broke onto this ship to show off my sweet karate moves.
While people are shooting guns at you.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. So yeah, the stealth is still the best way to go in Metal Gear Solid 4, but at least you don't feel like a sitting duck if you do manage to tip off the enemy. You can also play in first person mode if you want, but I don't recommend it. The game's just way harder that way. Just don't do it. There are a lot of just keep that in the back of your mind. Don't do it. There are a lot of gameplay systems that they brought back from older entries in the series. They spruced them up a bit. They brought the camouflage system from Metal Gear Solid 3 back, but they replaced it with what they called Octocamo, which was an upgrade to Snake's sneaking suit that allows him to change colors and patterns to his immediate surroundings. So instead of like pausing the game, going into the menu and like finding the camouflage you want and turning it on and all that, you just press, I think you hold triangle down, and Snake's suit sort of chameleon changes to wherever he's at.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it's great. And then once you have done that to like chameleon to a specific pattern, you can save the pattern, and then you can change back to it anytime you want if you want to use a different pattern in a different place. Sometimes patterns from other areas of the game are actually better matches than the area that you're in immediately. So there's still a little bit of game that you can play there. But it was like a lot more streamlined because you didn't have to go through the menu and all that stuff. They also replaced the Soliton radar system, sort of replaced it with the Solid Eye, which is like a robotic eye enhancement that Snake wears like an eye patch over his eye. That kind of gives him like a little bit of a radar that's a little bit more limited than Soliton radar, but it also lets him see things on the ground like guns, and there's like a threat ring that forms around his body that lets him identify which direction enemies might be coming from, or if there's like bullets flying off in the distance, you kind of get a little bit of you can kind of tell what direction things are happening at, which is really useful because if you didn't have a controller that supports rumble at the time, you could get a lot of information that way. Because remember, the DualShock 3 wasn't released until April of 2008, like a year and a half after the PlayStation 3 had been released. I think we talked about that during the PlayStation 3 episode, but the TLDR of that whole situation is that Sony and Nintendo were being sued by a company that had the patent for dual vibration systems that like almost all video game controllers used. And so Sony decided for the launch of the PS3 that they would just remove rumble altogether from the controller. And then they like claimed that it was because of the accelerometer sensors in the 6-axis controller. They were like, oh, we can't fit it in. It was a bunch of baloney, because as soon as they resolved the lawsuit, they were magically able to fit those rumble things into a 6-axis controller called DualShock 3.
Inventors, they did it. Hooray.
Yeah. So anyway, that's the reason why the PS3 didn't get rumble until shortly before Metal Gear Solid 4 was released, and developers for the life of the PlayStation 3 couldn't ever make a game assuming that everybody had rumble, because like for the first year and a half, people didn't have Rumble. So that was like a little interesting tidbit of PlayStation 3 history that I think people forget about. Kind of like the first dual analog controller for the original PlayStation also didn't have Rumble. No, people don't remember that because it was just called the dual analog. It wasn't the dual shock.
The shock factor being that it rumbles in your hands.
That's right. So they also replaced the stamina gauge from Metal Gear Solid 3 with a psyche gauge that can both help and hurt Snake. So in battle, it might go up, I guess because of like adrenaline or something, and it gives Snake enhanced combat abilities, but it can also go down, which makes Snake's aim less precise and generally just worse at combat. It can happen if he stands next to something that like smells bad, or if he hears something mean in a cutscene. He's especially sensitive to people talking about his age or physical abilities in cutscenes in a negative way. So it'll be like in a cutscene and somebody will be like, "Oh, you're old, Snake. Can your bones take it?" And he's just like, his little stamina or his psyche meter goes down.
Oh, that's rude.
So sad. Yeah.
Oh, poor Snake.
People are just worried about him because he's a really old man in Metal Gear Solid 4.
I can't wait to learn why.
Yeah. So anyway, there's items you can use to raise that back up for him. There's like an energy drink that you can drink that is sponsored by Regain Energy, which is an energy drink in Japan. But in general, though, the gameplay feels really great, in my opinion. There's also a whole kind of meta game of like gathering weapons and selling them to a character named Drebin for Drebin points. And then in exchange for Drebin points, Drebin will sell Snake weapons and upgrades. So it's worth it to pick up enemy weapons just to sell them to that guy. And we'll talk about him when we get to it too, because he's got some story significance. Also, you can listen to an iPod.
What?
Like an actual Apple branded iPod. And you have to control it using the joystick on the controller like you remember the click wheel on the old iPods?
Oh, yeah, I still got mine.
Yeah, as a 5th generation iPod video, the same thing that Apple would have been selling back at that point in time. So you like rotate the joystick to scroll through it and click on the joystick. And there's like podcasts in there and a bunch of songs. You can kind of listen to the soundtrack. It's pretty cool. I think maybe if you listen to different songs, that can raise his psyche meter. I'm not sure. I did that a lot, but it might have just been because somebody told me that worked and not because it actually did. So I'm not really sure.
Feels right to me.
Yeah. But they had a lot of like advertising and brand deals in Metal Gear Solid 4. So like if you thought Death Stranding had a lot of product placement in it, it's because Kojima had like pioneered this for himself in Metal Gear Solid 4. The game's got iPods, that Regain branded energy drink that I was talking about, and then Sony branded everything, of course. They also managed to fit a Blu-ray reference into the story where it's like a fourth wall break where Otacon interrupts the game and he's like, "Snake, you have to change the disc." And then when Snake's like, "What are you talking about? I have no idea what this means." Otacon's like, "Oh, right. This game's on a Blu-ray. You don't have to change the disc." Like, oh my gosh.
I was thinking we could get Jaybird some sponsors. I was thinking like the old Country Buffet, maybe. Sponsor Jaybird.
I hear they're really trying to get into esports right now.
Yeah, Zoomies. I don't know. What do you think? Hot Topic?
Yeah, we'll just tell them we'll slap their stickers on everything.
Just mall
We'll
stores.
sell skateboard decks.
Yeah, I just want all the mall stores. We got sponsored by Spencer's Gift.
American Eagle, Aeropostale. How do you say that?
I want the Sunglasses Hut to sponsor Jaybird so we could all look cool while we play.
Auntie Anne's can bring all the pretzels.
Oh, man, this is just getting better and better.
Yeah, speaking of Blu-rays, Konami made a big deal out of saying that even the 50 gigabyte Blu-ray disc was too small to fit the whole game. The game was just too big, and they had to use compression to get it to fit all on one disc. And they cited that as like a big reason why they could never bring the game to Xbox 360. I'm not sure I buy it completely, though, because I ripped my copy of Metal Gear Solid 4 legally from a Blu-ray, and the final file size was like 30 gigs. So too big for a standard 25 gig Blu-ray, but definitely could fit on a 50 gig Blu-ray. So that still would have been like 5 DVDs if they wanted to put it on 360. So, I mean, I get it, but I'm just saying 50 gigs is a little bit of an exaggeration.
They definitely, that's some hyperbole if I've ever heard it.
Yeah. The game also launched with Metal Gear Online 2, an update of the online mode that Konami had included with Metal Gear Solid 3's Subsistence re-release. It was very similar, though it was updated to have the controls and graphics of Metal Gear Solid 4. I'm going to freely admit here, I didn't play it at all, so I can't talk too much about the gameplay, and the servers were taken offline years ago. So, like, that's sort of just a piece of video game history at this point that I wish I had more to say about it. I think there is a fan project to try to get it back online with like community servers, but we'll leave that as an exercise to the listener to figure out if that's worth pursuing. Okay, so now that we're done talking about all that stuff, we'll get to the good stuff here. The reason that I love this game so much, the storyline. And boy, does this game pack a lot of story into one 12 to 15 hour campaign. So it's pretty solid length, a Metal Gear Solid length, if you will. Are you ready, Mike?
I was born ready.
All right. So we start the game 5 years after Metal Gear Solid 2. The Patriots, which are like a shadow organization, run the world. And the world runs off of the war economy. It's not even really nations fighting at this point. It's, in Snake's words, an endless series of proxy wars fought by private military companies, all designed to fight forever to ensure that the folks at the top of the chain that make weapons and stuff can get rich. So it's actually kind of what Big Boss had envisioned with Outer Heaven, only it's the entire world. It's not just a nation for soldiers. It's a whole world that's just constantly fighting, and so soldiers are always needed, right?
That's a very interesting idea.
Yeah. Because remember in Metal Gear Solid 3, he becomes pretty disillusioned with soldiers being used as pawns in war and in like relationships between countries and things like that. He's like, oh, these soldiers are the ones doing all the work, and yet they're the ones who are very quickly cast aside.
We go into like memes in this series, with not like memes now, but memes before. Right. And then also like war never changes. You know, it's got a lot of themes in it. I like it. Yeah.
Metal Gear Solid 4 is full of themes, and we will get to that in a minute as well. So there's fighting everywhere in this game. It's all over. In fact, the 5 largest private military companies are owned by Outer Heaven, which is rivaling the size of the U.S. military. And Outer Heaven is run by Liquid Ocelot. So remember Liquid Ocelot, how in the first Metal Gear Solid game, Revolver Ocelot lost his arm, and then they like attached Liquid Snake's arm to it in Metal Gear Solid 2, and it made Liquid Snake like take over Ocelot's arm, and it was like Liquid Snake and Revolver Ocelot's body. Remember all that anime stuff going on?
I'm real into it.
How could you forget? Yeah. So anyway, he's still running the show here, and we call him Liquid Ocelot. This game is still...
I love it so much.
Yeah, me too. It's just real heavy on the ridiculousness here. So anyway, Liquid Ocelot is running these companies that are part of Outer Heaven, seemingly fulfilling the will of Big Boss, and by extension, their interpretation of the will of the boss. So Liquid Ocelot, of course, is bent on world domination, and so Colonel Campbell once again calls Solid Snake out of retirement to go take him out. But Solid Snake isn't Solid Snake anymore. He's Old Snake. You see, because he's a clone, as we found out at the end in Metal Gear Solid 1, or we find out at some point in Metal Gear Solid 1 that he's a clone, he ages rapidly, which is a side effect of being a clone, I guess. But he's never one to turn a mission down, so he dons a muscle suit and he sets out to destroy Liquid once and for all. There are some twists and turns around the whole aging rapidly thing that I don't really want to spoil here, but there's more to it than just, he's a clone.
Involve Werther's Originals?
Yes, they do, because that's what old people eat. And so he's big on eating Werther's Originals.
Does it involve reruns of Murder, She Wrote?
Yes, and Matlock and Columbo.
I love it. I'm so into this.
Yeah. He's big into all of those things.
With all my old person stereotypes.
Old Snake is a big fan of Golden Girls as well.
Who isn't? That's not even an old people
That's true.
thing. That's just a great TV show.
You're right. So along the way, Snake teams up with his old flame, Meryl Silverborough, who's from Metal Gear Solid 1. I think, is she in Metal Gear Solid 2? I can't remember at this point. But anyway, she's there with her group of U.S. soldiers that are sent in to investigate these PMCs. They're part of a group called Rat Patrol 01, which is a fun group of soldiers that also includes a character named Johnny Sasaki, the soldier that's in every Metal Gear Solid game who's pooping his pants for one reason or another in every Metal Gear game. He's actually got a name, and he's kind of an important character now. And they actually explain why he's pooping his pants in every game, which is kind of funny. And I am glad that they explain it. And he gets a great ending.
You know what? That's good. That's good they explain his IBS. Okay? It's very important.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil it, but, you know, it's in there. And he gets a good ending as well. So don't feel too bad for Johnny here. So we got Snake's old pals Otacon and Raiden from Metal Gear Solid 2. They return as well, although Raiden has not really been well since Metal Gear Solid 2. He's broken up with his girlfriend, Rose, and he made himself into a cyborg ninja, which I guess is what sad boys do when they find out their entire life was a lie. They become alcoholics and they turn into cyborg ninjas.
It's a total neckbeard move right there.
Yeah. So pretty much anybody who is anybody in the Metal Gear Solid series makes their return here, and they all, for the most part, get satisfying endings, except Raiden. But he gets a whole nother game after this to get his own ending, so we don't need to worry too much about him. I hope that game ends well for him. I never actually played Metal Gear Rising: Revengeance, so maybe I should do that.
Was that on PS4 or PS3?
It was on PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, and PC, and it was like an action sort of almost Dark Souls kind of game made by Platinum Games, the same people that made like Bayonetta and stuff. So I as far as I know, it's okay. It just was very different from other Metal Gear games, and I've never really been a huge Cyborg Ninja Raiden fan, so I didn't really...
Metal Gear Solid really doesn't care about genre bending. They don't mind at all, which I'm into. Nope. I think it's cool. They're like, whatever, let's try something different.
Yeah. So I played it for a little bit, and then I got stuck on some boss, and I was like, whatever, Raiden sucks anyway, and I like gave up after that.
Is that exactly what you said too, verbatim, out loud to yourself? And then you chugged a Mountain Dew and walked away.
That's right. That's exactly what I did. So yeah, we got a new character here named Drebin, which I talked about earlier. He's kind of this like neutral arms dealer. He's selling weapons to anybody who's going to buy them, and he's also an expert in the new team of enemies, the Beauty and the Beast Corps. Remember when we talked about that and you're like, oh, that sounds cool? That's because it is cool. The Beauty and the Beast Corps, 4 women with tortured pasts that are almost a perfect combination of Foxhound members from Metal Gear Solid 1, so like the bad guys in Metal Gear Solid 1, and the Cobra unit from Metal Gear Solid 3. So you've got Screaming Mantis, Crying Wolf, Laughing Octopus, and Raging Raven. And Drebin knows all their backstories. So every time you beat one of them, he's like pulls up in his truck and he's like got this really deep voice. And he's like, I'm going to share with you some backstory on why you should feel really bad about that person you just killed. And he loves sharing those stories. So yeah, and those backstories are super dark. Like this is a family friendly podcast and I would not want to repeat them on here because they are super sad.
Wow.
Yeah. That's actually one of the big themes of Metal Gear Solid 4, the human cost of war and the trauma that it causes everybody involved, even those who aren't directly involved. It also focuses on the interconnectedness of technology, mainly expressed through the use of, here we go with some anime stuff, nanomachines. Nearly everybody in the game has their body pumped full of nanomachines for one reason or another, either because it gives them enhanced combat abilities or because they're staving off some sort of disease. And even Snake has a ton of nanomachines inside him. And these nanomachines are sort of one of the ways that the Patriots exert control over people. So it's like all a big like metaphor for like us being too dependent on technology. And this was before the days of smartphones were really becoming a thing. Like the iPhone had been out for a year at this point, so smartphones hadn't really taken hold yet. And so Kojima's already way ahead of us on being connected too much.
Oh, so, Kojima, you're always so ahead of the curve.
Yeah. So I don't want to get too spoilery with the story here because it's one of my favorite gaming stories ever, and I think everybody should have the chance to experience it without having too much spoiled. It's got some really great moments in it, especially if you're a fan of the series. Everybody gets an ending. Some of them are happier than others, but they're all pretty satisfying. There's a handful of scenes that are just really, really powerful in general. I think anybody who's played the game knows what I'm talking about when I talk about the microwave scene. Which is like one of the most powerful scenes in gaming. And it says this really cool fusion of gameplay and storytelling that just continues to blow me away every time I see it or play through it. It's just really, really incredible. And it's not the same to watch it on YouTube. You have to play that scene because of how just crazy it is. So anyway, I think this game also has like the highest cutscene to gameplay ratio of any action game I've ever played. The game is probably like 12 to 15 hours long, but I'd say at least a third of that is cutscenes. At least, maybe even half.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And like after you beat the last boss, all of the epilogue stuff that happens, it's a 2-hour movie. You're just going to sit there for 2 hours watching all that stuff, all of the things that happen. And you think it's over, and then it'll like pop up another thing, and it'll just keep going for hours.
Can you
and
at least
really
pause it to go get like popcorn or something so you can experience the last movie? That's good.
Yeah. And you can pause it during the cutscenes as well. So they actually have like a menu option before you start an act. There's like usually like a half-hour cutscene sort of setting the act up, and it's like they're separate. Like you watch the cutscene and then you choose to play the game. So it's like it kind of knows what it's doing here, you know. But if you're into the storyline, then it's all worth it. Like that's half the reason to play this game is to watch these 2-hour cutscenes. So that's part of it. I think it's very satisfying. I understand that it's a turnoff for some folks, especially if you're like not engaged in the storyline and don't care, because it's very cinematic. And I think it's a prime example that people point to when they say that Kojima should have been a film director and not a game director, which I'm not sure I fully agree with that, but I get it. Like if you're sitting here watching half of your game play out as a movie, maybe you should have been a movie director.
Yeah, it's a good point. That's fair.
Yeah. But speaking of reception, though, the game received almost universal praise when it came out. IGN gave it a 10 out of 10. GameSpot gave it a 10 out of 10. Famitsu gave it a 40 out of 40, which means the 4 people that reviewed the game at Famitsu each gave it a 10 out of 10. So the list goes on and on. Tons of perfect scores. In fact, it still sits at a 94 on Metacritic, pretty close to the top of Metacritic's like PS3 games. The gaming site Kotaku said in an article shortly after the game was released, quote, Metal Gear Solid 4 is so unusual in that it's the rare game that asks them to be interested in something else, a march toward defeat, an interactive tragedy. And I think that's accurate. That's what this game is, an interactive tragedy. I love it. So the game sold really well in the US and Japan. It was a system seller all around the world. It even got its own PS3 bundle with its own, like there's a Metal Gear Solid 4 edition of the thing, but it also was sold as its own like color, gunmetal gray. I would love to have one of those PS3s in my collections. In 2014, a former Konami employee said that Metal Gear Solid 4 sold a total of 6 million copies all around the world, which is, not too bad, not too shabby. So yeah, that's it.
That's a lot of copies. I feel
yeah.
like it's $60 a piece, right?
Yep. So that's $360 million gross.
Oh man, yeah.
If they all sold for $60 a piece, which is probably not true, but
yeah, not all of them did, but yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's Metal Gear Solid 4. There's probably tons more I could say on it, and maybe someday we'll do a spoiler cast if you get around to playing it, Mike, because I would love to just talk about the game till the end of forever. It's one of my favorite series of all time, and I'm glad that y'all were able to take the journey here with me. Talking about it has really got me to want to play it again, and so I looked at different ways to play it, and there's only one way to play it, and that's just to buy the PS3 version and just put it into your PS3. There's no re-releases, there's no HD remasters, just the original game on its original system. I think it was on PlayStation Now for a minute, and then they took it off. And so that's it. You just have to buy a PS3 and play it there. There is an emulator on PC called RPCS3 that's made a lot of progress on this game. So I don't know if it's fully playable yet at the time of this recording. But maybe someday soon that'll be the best way to play it is on your PC in 4K, 60 frames per second. So that'll be the way to do it. So that's it, Mike. Thanks for taking that journey with me and
it was quite the
hearing
journey.
all of my love for Metal Gear Solid.
I really should pick up Metal Gear Solid 2 again. I need to give it the old go,
Mm-hmm.
Watch that YouTube video that Ryan sent us.
Yeah, you can get through the beginning.
Get through at least the first level. Feel good about myself.
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, what you been playing this week, Mike?
Oh, the games I've been playing. Well, we beat Gears of War 3.
Yes.
We beat Gears of War Judgment.
Yeah. Oh, we beat 2 games in a week, huh?
Yeah, we did. Gears of War Judgment, boy, that's a small game.
Not very long.
We'll talk about it eventually when we do a Gears of War series, which might be sooner than later, because I kind of want to keep it fresh on our minds when we do Gears of War. I think it's important to do. But
yeah,
I also beat Doom Eternal this week.
Oh, yeah.
Felt real good. I've been playing a lot of Darkest Dungeon. I've been getting really into Darkest Dungeon. I'm super into it. I don't know what put me in the mood for it, but I'm feeling it. It's like this weird mix of like tactical battles and like an economy sim almost, because you're essentially running a dungeoneering business at the same time, and your employees are very expendable is how I would describe it. Yeah. And it's better to just like dismiss someone that goes crazy than to spend money on them. It's actually like kind of hard to play the game.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like you're like, oh no, you can't really care about your characters. You got to just like let them go, which is really interesting. And I had a guy die in such a hilarious way because you can get like stress on your characters, And if they get too much stress, they can have a heart attack and die. This guy went crazy and was masochistic, and he was on his like death's door. Like if he got hit one more time, he had 0 hit points, and if he gets hit, he's dead. And he just took his sword and shoved it into his face and then died.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I was like, because he was a high level character. He was level 5, which is pretty high level for Darkest Dungeon. I think it maxes out at level 6, and I was so mad at the time. And then I like 10 seconds later, I was like, that is the funniest video game death I have ever seen. He went crazy, and then he kills himself in the front line. And and then I had to abandon the quest and leave the dungeon, because I've also had like a whole party get wiped before. That happened to me on like one of my early playthroughs. Not playthroughs like in this playthrough, but early on in the playthrough, because I just didn't know what I was doing. And since I've kind of watched a couple of videos on like strategy of what I should be going for, because I was like, I just feel lost, and that's helped a lot. And I've kind of had some more breakthroughs in what I do, but that's super fun. I've got my Pro controller for my Switch for my birthday coming up that came in the mail today, and I'm about to start playing a lot of Breath of the Wild again, and I'm super excited.
So exciting.
But also, I picked up on Game Pass Wolfenstein New Order, because I was kind of in like a single player shooter mood still after Doom Eternal. And it's been pretty fun. I played the first level. I'm enjoying it. So, and we're going to keep playing Gears of War. We started Gears of War 4. Played the prologue, which felt like a whole act, kind of.
Yeah. And we get to play on PC now. So
oh, yeah.
It's very nice.
Living the dream.
Living
smooth. That dream life. But what you been playing, Tyler?
Yeah. So, well, I played Gears 3 in Judgment with you, and that was really fun. We started Gears of War 4. I finished Call of Duty, the original Call of Duty Classic on the Xbox 360, and I've started on the United Offensive expansion pack that's only on PC. So that's really old at this point, and so it like took some finagling to get it working on the PC, but I got it running, and it runs very smoothly now. I like look at the frame rate counter, and it's like running at over 500 frames per second.
What?
Because it's just so old. It's like 2004.
It's like so like buttery smooth.
Yeah, super, super silky smooth, it's nice because I have a 144 hertz monitor, so I can at least see 144 of those 500 frames being rendered.
That's right. It looks real nice.
I've been playing Doom Eternal also. I'm on the 6th level. I'm almost done with it. I was playing a bit of it today. I've been playing it kind of piecemeal, like a mission every few days, because it's just so intense. It gets my heart beating, and it really stresses me out, and I think it's really fun, but I can only take it in small doses.
Just wait until you get to those bosses. Oh.
Yeah.
Oh,
so I'm just trying to spread it out over time. I'm not in a rush. There's no reason to try to finish this game too quickly. So
have you fought what bosses have you fought so far? Have you fought any bosses yet?
I don't think so. I haven't fought anything that I would consider a boss yet. But maybe there will be one at the end of this. I'm at the Ark Complex. I'm probably 80% through Ark Complex.
Is that where you get Samuel Hayden?
Maybe. I don't think so.
Oh, well, you're close to that anyway.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, you're very close to that. But
yeah. So anyway,
not spoiler territory. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
Right. Oh no, to spoiling
a Doom character from the last Doom. Oh no.
Yeah. So I've been playing that, and then I also have been playing Borderlands 3 with Kelly, and that's been pretty fun. We are taking our time on that. We do the side quests when they come up. We try to get done as many side quests as we can before we move on to the main quest. So we take it. So that's how we played Borderlands 2 also, and we had a lot of fun doing that. So
that is more fun that way, I think.
Yeah.
Because then you're also really OP for the main quest, and you can just buzz right through it.
Yeah, that's the plan. And you just get super, super overpowered. So that's about it as far as what I've been playing. I'm very excited because Final Fantasy VII Remake comes out on Friday.
Oh yeah, I'm going to lose you.
I'm all in. Man.
I feel like Gears is going to go on hold.
It might. Next weekend it might. So I'm very excited for that.
Oh, I forgot to tell you about one more game I was playing. I was playing Doom on Switch, just the original Doom on Switch.
Oh, yeah.
And I totally took your advice, and I just turned the cheats right on. Just put on God mode.
Yeah.
Don't
feel bad. That game's like 30 years old. Don't feel bad about cheating.
Yeah, and I heard it's also, if the cheats are in the options menu, then I don't feel bad about it. Because they're just straight up there.
my kind of the way I do it, and I wouldn't call it a rule, but I play the game as best I can. And then if I sort of get stuck and I feel like, man, it would be really helpful having light amplification goggles right now so I can see, I'll just go in the cheat menu, turn it on, I don't feel that bad about it.
Yeah, I was really enjoying it. It's been really fun to just play it. Like, I think I'm halfway through the game because it's just the whole complex, right? So I'm like the map of the complex, right?
There's if you're playing the first Doom, there are 4 episodes or 3. Can't remember on the Switch if they did 3 or 4 episodes. I think they did 4.
So this Mars colony is the first episode.
Yes, Knee Deep in the Dead is the first 9 levels are the Mars stuff. Then you've got the Shores of Hell, which is that's on Deimos, I think, which is a moon of Mars. And then there's Inferno, and each one of these has 9 levels. 8 levels plus a secret level. There's Inferno, and then there's Thy Flesh Consumed, which came out a little bit later before Doom 2 came out. And it's kind of a little bit of a connector between Doom and Doom 2.
It's so fun. I really enjoy it. I just love how fast it is too. Like I blow through it, because I saw the par times on each level is like a minute, Yeah. So it's like I beat it in 3 usually.
Yeah, Doom speedruns are incredible to watch. They are just wow. They're very precise, and it's really cool how close the Doom 2016 and Doom Eternal feel to that. Like it feels like a modern version of what Doom was, like what your brain was telling you in 1993 playing Doom. Like this is what your brain was telling you the game was, and it's like that's what Doom Eternal is.
Oh,
like,
totally. You're gonna also like for me, it was about 2 levels in when I stopped hitting R to reload in Doom Eternal. Like it happens every time I play a Doom game. I have to nope, you don't need to reload your gun. Just let it ride. Okay, it's fine.
You press R and then you start flamethrowing.
Yeah, which is good because I got armor, which is good. But it's super fun. I actually want to play the Doom Eternal Master levels, so I left it on my computer, but I'm definitely taking a little break from it. But I want to, because I think I got 2 of those Master levels just for pre-ordering the game. And they're releasing those Master levels for free.
Nice.
So they'll release more, it says, and they're going to be free every time. It's a really cool game. I think it's super fun. I haven't tried the multiplayer mode on it yet. I want to try it. But I think I'm going to play 1 or 2 matches of it. But I got all the albums and all the toys and stuff, so I can go into my fortress and load it up and just look at all the stuff I collected, which is kind of fun. I like it.
Nice.
And I think getting it on PC was the way to go.
Oh yeah,
looks so pretty.
Playing mouse and keyboard with your headphones on, that's the best way to play.
Also,
first-person shooters, I think.
I had the unicorn suit on when I beat the game, so the cinematics look really funny when you're wearing dressed as a unicorn. It's really great. Big fan.
Awesome. I need to unlock that still.
Oh yeah, it's just Twitch Prime. It's super easy to do.
Just gotta link my account. Yep.
Yeah, I thought I screwed it up and only did it on Xbox, but it turns out it just unlocks it. If you had Doom Eternal, I think on every single platform, I don't know why you would, but if you did, you'd have the unicorn thing on all of them as long as it's linked to your account. So
nice.
Yeah. Do you want to read some emails?
Sure.
All right. This first one's from Awesome Astronaut. All right, you ready?
Yeah.
It's kind of a long email. It's from, hello, fellow game history enthusiasts. Ooh, thank you so much. We are fellow game history enthusiasts. I believe this is my first time emailing the podcast, and after going through the backlog, I can say that I thoroughly enjoyed it. I thought I'd email y'all because you're coming to a point of interest for me in your history of Zelda games. I didn't grow up with a console like a lot of people my age did. Instead, I had a Game Boy Advanced SP, which is a great system. This is Mike talking, not the emailer, not Awesome Astronaut. The system is actually a very fine handheld, but my parents didn't know what games were good, and I got some crappy games. Later on, I got a DS for Christmas. Oh, that's such a great console, too. Once again, I got more dumb games. I did, however, get a particular DS game from my grandparents. At the time, my first thought was, this looks Japanesey. I was an insensitive kid. I wasn't interested in playing it. Later, after I exhausted all my other Christmas presents, I picked up the game, and I fell in love with it. It was The Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass. For the first time, I felt like a game was an adventure, and when its sequel Spirit Tracks came out, and I enjoyed that one just as much. Later on, I played other Zelda games. The Wind Waker became my favorite game, period. It saddens me, though, that Phantom Hourglass is tossed aside by the Zelda community, branding it sometimes as, quote, the worst Zelda game. I enjoyed yeah, I know. I think I agree with Awesome Astronaut here that it's messed up that they say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I enjoyed the touch controls, which were a lot more forgiving than the pixel-perfect platformers I played on the Game Boy Advance. It has its flaws, but I love so many things about it. Hot take, here comes a hot take. I enjoy playing it more than Link's Awakening, Game Boy Color, and Link to the Past. That is a hot take.
Ooh, that is a hot take, especially that Link to the Past. A lot of people would fight you over that. Not me, but some would.
It sparked my interest in games, and now I'm planning on going into game dev. Ooh.
Oh, that's awesome.
So if Phantom Hourglass did all that, I'd hardly call it a bad Zelda game. I've talked too much. Here are some topic suggestions for you. History of speedrunning. We talked about that. That's great. Video game cartoons. Oh, that's really good.
That's a good idea.
Roller Coaster Tycoon. Oh, that's
a great idea.
And Elder Scrolls series, which is on our Google list. So that's great. I'll add the other ones, though, for sure. I love your podcast and look forward to more awesome content. Oh, it's Curtis from Utah.
Thanks, Curtis from Utah.
Yeah. And he also threw out some YouTube channels that might provide inspiration. And I've heard of some of these, but people might not have heard of them. So Gaming Historian, Ahoy, and Summoning Salt. And that's the one of the best.
I do love Gaming Historian.
Yeah, Summoning Salt is the best resource for speedrunning history, Curtis says. So thank you, Curtis from Utah. Appreciate it. Do you want to read Tanner's?
Yeah. He says, "Hey, Codex family. My name is Tanner from sunny Arizona. Longtime listener, first-time caller. Actually, that's not true. I once tweeted Mike under my Dark Paul Twitter account and told him he'd like Fire Emblem. Hey, this is the person who told you about Fire Emblem.
What? Tanner?
Yeah.
Oh, Tanner from sunny Arizona. I'm almost done with Fire Emblem. That's on my to-beat list. It's really close. Got to move over on the Trello board."
He says, "Glad to see both y'all playing that lately, and honestly, been loving the podcast for some time now. I was so not surprised, but also so happy to hear Tyler's love for Metal Gear Solid because it's one of my favorite franchises too. The first one I ever played, other than Metal Gear Solid 1 Pizza Hut demo disc I had, was Metal Gear Solid 3. However, I played it on my 3DS, which I gotta say is actually my favorite way to play the game. I know it's weird, but the control scheme is much more like MGS4 rather than the super dated scheme of the first games. That being said, I bought the Metal Gear Solid collection for PS3 and have vowed to beat 2 for the first time because of Tyler's recommendation. Just wanted to send love to y'all because what you have is a special podcast with two irreplaceable people. Aw. Mike, I have to agree with the others in that you always make me laugh out loud, even when I'm alone, and I think you bring an important dialogue to the cast. Anyway, I'm done blabbering. Sincerely,
Tanner. Thank you so
Thanks,
much,
Tanner in Arizona.
Oh,
he has a PS.
Oh, what's the PS?
This new Animal Crossing is amazing, and my roommates and I have played a disgusting amount since we've been self-quarantined. Is this what God wanted? I don't know, and I don't care. It's fun.
I want
to get that
so bad.
Yeah,
I go to my girlfriend
to
every day, like, today's the day I'm buying Animal Crossing, and she's like, okay, and then I never buy it because I'm just like, I have so many games to play, I can't justify it, but there's a hype train going on right now, and people are going to each other's islands, and I want to experience this.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. I need to pick it up too, but there's too many games.
We could just trade our bells to that guy who's kind of swindling us.
Yeah.
What's his name again?
Tom Nook.
Tom Nook. Yeah, I heard he's back, and I heard he's just as swindly as ever.
Yeah, I hate that guy.
Here comes another interview from Old Man Ryan. I don't like that name.
Right.
Yeah, I know. We actually found out where he was from. We just don't have it written down. But Old Man Ryan says, "Sup, my dudes? Old Man Ryan here yet again. I'd like to chime in on the discussion episode and say I totally agree now that Diablo 3 is so much more fun on Switch. I've probably logged over 1,000 hours on PC, but this past year, I've almost only played it on console, a week or two every new season. And I would have never thought I'd say that after being such a, quote, PC master race for about 20 years. A couple of my go-to isolation games at this time have been with the perfect realized time of Phantasy Star Online 2. He said many hours after school in 2001 on the original Dreamcast when he played it. It's been a blast from the past. Also, State of Decay 2 had been a lot of fun, and the multiplayer aspect is always fun to go help your friends take out some Plague Hearts and Juggernauts. I actually played that game for a little bit, and I did have a lot of fun with it. My brother and I played it, but then we got kind of distracted by other games. I want to go back to that. We should do that sometime, Tyler. State of Decay.
Yeah.
2.
Okay.
As always, keep up the rad work and making the best part of my Monday mornings at work for me. Thank you, Ryan.
Thanks, Ryan. I'm with you on. I mean, I'm generally a big PC fan, but Diablo is better on consoles. Like the controls are just better. Like it's hard to deny that it's just better. You know.
Yeah, it's hard to deny it. Agreed. It's just so fun, you know? Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
All right, you want to do the last one right here?
Yeah. This one comes from Nick. He says, "Good morning, Codex. Hope you're doing well during this stressful time in our lives. I wanted to recommend some good games to get lost in while being locked up at home. Recently, my wife and our roommates invested in the PS4 game Dreams. If you haven't looked into it yet, I cannot recommend this enough. Dreams is a massive game where you craft your own video games and then release it through Dreams. There's thousands of games to play and even some wild short films made with Dreams. Crafting is tricky, but it's definitely worth the $40 investment."
I also heard of that.
Yeah, I've been seeing people post stuff with it, and it looks really crazy. It kind of reminds me of what people were doing like when Little Big Planet first came out, and they were like basically making whole new games inside of this. And I really don't know that much about it other than it seems like it's really cool for people who are very creative. So I'm glad that it exists. Nick goes on to say, "I also got the Nintendo subscription, so I've been making my way through all of the retro Nintendo and Super Nintendo games on my Switch, well worth the $20 a year. Finally, if you're looking for a good Souls-style game, I've been playing a lot of Blasphemous and Death's Gambit on Steam. They're both side-scrolling Souls games with tons of replay value. Hope you guys are staying safe. Kind regards, Nick."
Thanks, Nick. Oh, man. So many good recommendations from emails.
Yeah, appreciate that.
Appreciate it. You can email us at codexhistorypodcast@gmail.com. You can rate and review to us and subscribe to us on wherever you listen. I think we're up to 60 now on Apple Podcasts. So thank you for all those reviews. Also, just tell your friends about us. You know, it's nice to do, and it makes us feel good, and it's nice to know people are listening. So thank you so much for listening. Tyler, do you want to say bye to people?
Yeah, bye to people.